In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I was able to scale my Web3 development agency to 6 figures in revenue in less than 12 months. I'm also going to be sharing all the lessons I've learned along the way so you can apply them to your own agencies or businesses today and achieve the same results. The reason I'm creating this video is because when I was starting out, there were not enough resources or YouTube channels that shared insights on how to start and scale an agency. Especially, there were no resources on development agencies, even though development agencies or dev shops are among one of the most profitable businesses people can do online. People kept their secrets and did not share insights with those who were starting out. Because of this, me and my co-founders had to figure out everything ourselves. It took us more than 4 years to discover what actually works, and it was not until last year where we were able to figure out what actually works. Therefore, we had the most growth in the last 12 months. My goal with this video is very simple, to share my story of how we started and what did we do exactly to reach 6 figures in revenue. I aim to provide as much value as possible in this video and future videos on this channel so you can apply them to your business or agencies as well. The lessons I share in this video are more targeted towards software agency owners, but the lessons can be applied to any business or any service-based business. Alright, so how did we do it? 3 years ago, me and my co-founders, Shahroz and Talha, were discussing on what to do next, and Shahroz said that there is something called an NFT. We asked Shahroz what is an NFT, and he showed us a picture of an ape. He also said that this image is worth millions of dollars. I could not understand why would someone pay such an amount to buy an image when they could just copy, download, or take a screenshot. Out of curiosity, I started learning everything I could about the so-called image that was worth millions of dollars. Few days in, and I fell down the crypto rabbit hole. I realized that this NFT thing Shahroz was talking about was just the surface of what the overall Web3 space and blockchain technology had to offer. If you have no clue on what Web3 is, then I recommend watching this video. We had found this new thing called Web3 and not many people knew about it. It was an internet revolution. The internet was changing one day at a time in front of our eyes, and we wanted to take part and contribute by leveraging our skills. One of the things that I live by is that knowledge without action is useless. So we had to start somewhere. We decided to get involved in Web3 communities and learn as much as we could. While doing so, we identified a unique opportunity and a problem that no one else was trying to solve. The unique opportunity was that everyone was trying to dig for gold, but no one was selling shovels. This means that everyone wanted to launch their own coin, their own NFT project, or a software product. Everyone wanted to be a founder. We knew that this was not sustainable in the long run. In the short run, they might be able to get some traction because of the market trajectory. However, in the longer run, it won't work unless they had a unique edge. And this is exactly what happens in a gold rush. Everyone tries to dig for gold, but no one really takes the time to think about why and how they should do it to ensure they succeed. We personally did not want to start with half-cooked ideas that would not survive when the market went down. We thought, what if we could help other people dig for gold, aka develop and launch their ideas? Along with this opportunity, the problem we encountered was even more massive. There was not even a single reputable development service provider in Web3. Every individual developer or company was anonymous, charging ridiculous amount for basic work, and not focusing on providing high-quality customer experience. We thought to ourselves that if the Web3 space is to move forward and onboard the masses, it would happen through great products. To build those products, there must be individual developers or service providers who can help. So as a result of this unique opportunity and to solve this massive problem, we launched Nalikes Studio. Just to give you some more context, me and my co-founders, all three of us were software engineers. We had built software products in the past, and I personally had the experience of sales and running an agency at a smaller scale. So we had figured out what the market wanted, and we were well equipped to offer that. Alright, so how do we get our first customer? There were things that we did we thought would get us customers, and there were things that we did unintentionally that actually got us customers. I'll explain the things that we did we thought would get us customers in another video so you can save your time and avoid them. But the things that we did unintentionally that actually got us our first customer was providing free value, developing a reputation, and building relationships. Like I said a while ago, that we started getting involved in communities where there were people who were building and working on different projects. We started offering free help to these projects, and in return, we were not getting paid, but we were developing a reputation and building relationships. It did not take us long to develop a name for ourselves in some communities as trusted and reputable developers. And eventually, one of the relationships that we had built got us our first client that paid us $60,000 for building a software product. When we got this first client, we did our best because we knew that the fate of our agency depended on this and we could not mess it up. So we had to give everything we can to make sure that this client won. So that's what eventually happened. We built a product for this client that helped them generate over 700K in revenue. So almost after 6 months of no revenue and 3 months of dedicated hard work, we had done it. We had gotten our first customer, delivered their work successfully, and had generated revenue for our agency. Okay, cool. We got our first client, we got paid for the work we did, but what's next? We had no idea on what's next. All we knew was that we should stick to what we did in the beginning, which was building relationships and providing an exceptional experience. And that's what we did. The same client continued working with us because of the quality of the service we provided. And because of that client, we kept on getting more clients via referrals and word of mouth. Fast forward few months, we had hired few more developers to assist us in fulfilling the demand, and we continued to scale organically only via referrals and word of mouth. But now our costs had also increased, and in order to sustain and most importantly scale, we had to figure out new ways of getting customers. Now I did a lot of different things to get new customers, but most of the strategies failed. But eventually one of them worked, which was cold DMing people on Discord and Twitter. Although it took me a lot of time to get the cold outreach right, but I was able to get more customers and eventually scale. When we closed more deals, we hired more developers, and as we hired more developers, we had to close more deals. So this flywheel continued, and to this day, this flywheel is working. I then went on to set up cold outreach strategies via email, LinkedIn, and Telegram to get more leads, and then worked along with my co-founder to nurture and close them. Apart from outbound, we also acquired some customers via inbound like SEO, where we rank for certain keywords. What it basically means is that if someone wanted to develop a Web3 game, they would search for Web3 Game Development Studio on Google, and our website would pop up on the first page. People would then click on our link and then book a call with us. During this, I also had figured out how to generate customers from freelancing platforms like Upwork. Even though I was very skeptical about Upwork, it got us results that I never thought I would get. From there on then, it was very clear that our services had a demand, and I only had to figure out a way to get our services in front of the people who were looking for them. Along with that, my co-founder spent a lot of time getting our engineering processes right for delivering high quality work. Because even though you bring in a customer, you have to serve them right so you can retain them. Because one thing I've learned running this agency is that it is easy to keep a customer than to go out there and acquire a new one. By a combination of improving our skills, building relationships, delivering high quality work with an exceptional customer experience, focusing on sales, and hiring the right talent, we were able to scale and reach 6 figures in revenue. Another insight is that in some service-based businesses, the customer lifetime value, or the LTV, is really high, which means that if you do things right and keep the customer happy, you can keep on getting paid for a very long time, and that's what we did. And lastly, from day one, we focused on value-based pricing instead of cost-based pricing. This was also another catalyst in helping us increase our revenue. I'll create a separate video on this, but in short, what it means is that with every successful project you deliver, or with every few successful projects you deliver, you increase your pricing. Because if the work you are doing helps your customers make more money, then it only makes sense to keep increasing your pricing in a smart and justifiable way. So this is how we were able to reach 6 figures in revenue. I've shared with you years of journey in few minutes. Each and everything that we did deserves a separate video of its own, which I'll be creating in the near future. And here are a few lessons that I think are the most important you need to keep in mind if you plan to start or scale your own agency or business. Alright, so the first lesson is identifying a unique problem or an opportunity and solving it by applying specific knowledge. The fastest way to make money online is to provide a service, in my opinion. It can be content writing, social media management, lead generation, or product development like we do, and tons of other services that you can do. But the thing is, there's a lot of competition. Therefore, if you want to start a service-based business, then you need to have something that can help you stand out from the rest of the crowd. It can be an industry which is growing, like in our case, it was Web3, or it could be something else where there is not enough competition. So that is what I mean by unique opportunity or a unique problem. Because if we had done the same thing, which is software development in any other industry, which was already saturated, I highly doubt we would have been able to scale. And the second thing is you need to have a specific knowledge, which in our case was smart contract development or blockchain development. There were not enough people who had this skill or specific knowledge, which was another catalyst in our success. Therefore, the first lesson is that if you plan to start a service-based business online, you have to spend time in figuring out what will I offer to the world and how will I offer it so I can get paid. If no one is willing to pay for what you are offering, then chances are you'll not be able to sustain. It must be a unique opportunity or a problem that you can solve with your skill set or specific knowledge. The second lesson is start with why. One of the books I read was Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and it really changed my thinking, which when I applied to my agency helped us scale as well. Start with why means that in any venture you start, you need to have a very clear understanding of why you are doing it. Simon Sinek explains it by using an example of a golden circle. In the golden circle, we have the what, how, and why. What is the result that you're trying to achieve? In our case, it was developing software products. How is the process you will follow or the actions you will take to achieve the results? In our case, it was our development process, which includes research, design, coding, testing, and launching. Lastly, we have the why, which means why you are doing it. What is the purpose of your actions? And this is the most important thing that you have to figure out if you plan to scale your business. Most founders know what they want to achieve. Some of them know how to achieve it, but there are very few founders or companies that know why they are doing it. And if you take any company in the world that is successful, they have a very clear why, like Apple, Microsoft, and countless others. In our case, the why or the purpose was to help non-technical people bring their ideas to life and help the overall Web3 space move forward. The why keeps evolving as you get more clarity over time. So the second lesson is that you need to focus on figuring out what is the purpose of your agency or your company, as it will fuel your growth. It would also help you and your team stay motivated and would inspire others to join your cause. The third lesson is focusing on RGA. When you are starting your own agency, business, or startup, you have to focus on RGA, which stands for revenue generating activities. I often see founders focusing on things like branding, social media presence, and other things and neglect the most important thing, which is to do sales and generate revenue in the early days. Don't get me wrong. All these things are important and we also do that. But when you are starting out, every hour of your day is very important and you have to dedicate it to the most important activities, which in our case, and probably in the case of most businesses, is sales and acquiring customers. I too am guilty of focusing on the wrong things in the early days, but I was able to realize it very quickly that I have to focus on activities that bring money into the company. The reason I was so focused on generating revenue was because that's what defined the lifespan of our agency. Venture-backed startups are different, but even in that case, you have to figure out how you will generate revenue eventually. Some people might advise you against that, but from my experience, revenue is the most important thing for your company, especially in the early days. So if you're starting out or already running an agency, take your time and ask yourself, what activities are you doing? And are those activities generating revenue? If the answer is no, then cut it out. But if the answer is yes, then double down on it. You have to focus on generating revenue from day one. And therefore, everything you do must be a revenue generating activity. The next thing I want to talk about is co-founders. The whole journey becomes slightly easier and even fun if you partner with the right people. However, it is very important that you choose your partners very carefully. These are the people you'll be spending most of your time with in the coming years. You have to ask yourself if these are the people you see yourself working with for the next 5 or 10 years. If the answer is no, then don't even work for a single day. Instead, hire the skill or capability that you are missing, but don't partner up or give equity to anyone. In the early days, everyone is nice and friendly, but when the going gets tough, people reveal their true character, especially when money gets involved. But on the other hand, if you find people with whom your values align and you see yourself working for a long time, then nothing can be more fruitful than having a co-founder. I myself was very fortunate to have co-founders without whom I wouldn't have been able to come this far. Naval Ravikant, whom I consider my mentor, says that play long-term games with long-term people. Starting your own agency or startup is a long-term game. So make sure you partner with people who will be there for a long term. The next thing I want to talk about is systems and delegation. You might be able to acquire a few customers, you also might be able to generate some revenue, but scale will only come when you set up systems and delegate. So make it a habit that in the early days, whatever you do, write it down, create SOPs, which stands for Standing Operating Procedure, and set up systems so you can delegate easily. Scale without systems and delegation is very difficult. Spend time on setting up systems and delegate it to your team when you have reached a certain stage in your business. You might not be able to get it right in the first attempt, but if you keep at it, this will help you scale really fast. Setting up system does not mean creating complicated flowcharts or anything. It can be as simple as writing a list of steps that you personally do to achieve a particular task in a Google Doc. So the lesson is systemize everything that you do in your agency or startup on day-to-day basis and delegate as much as you can. The next thing I want to talk about is hiring. When you start, you might have to do everything yourself, but you will get to a stage eventually where you have to hire and delegate. Hiring along with sales is one of the few things you should spend most of your time on because one wrong hire can ruin your growth. Now, hiring is another thing that I'll create a separate video on in the future, but for now you need to know that you will have to hire if you want to scale. There is no way around it, especially in a service-based business, and you cannot afford to make a mistake in hiring. Even if you do it, it is not end of the world, but it will definitely hurt your business. So make sure you spend time on figuring out how to hire the right people so you can scale your agency. The next lesson is don't outsource your sales. This, by far, in my opinion, is the most important lesson. Your business needs sales, and you cannot and must not outsource your sales. Sales is the lifeline of your business, and if you get someone else to figure it out, they can cut it out at any time. You can take guidance or help, but at the end of the day, you as a founder are responsible for figuring out the sales in the early days. Even if you're not good at communication or are an introvert, you have to figure out how to do sales or partner with someone who can do the sale. Like everything in life, sales is a skill which can be learned. Therefore, make sure you as a founder are responsible for figuring out the sales of your company in the early days. The next lesson is that you have to be obsessed with your customers. If you don't care about your customers and if you don't have empathy towards them, then you'll not be able to grow or scale your business. In a service-based business, your customers are everything, or not even in a service-based business. In any business, customers are everything, and you have to be obsessed with them. You have to think, why would someone want to work with you or use your product or service? Just because you're offering that does not mean that the customer will work with you. No, there are thousands of other people who might have the same skill or who might have the same product or service. But the way you deal with your customers, the way you understand their goals, desires, and pain points is what will help you stand out. So the lesson is that be obsessed with your customers, value them, and do everything you can to make them succeed. There are some customers that regardless of what you do will never be satisfied. Therefore, one of the things you will have to get good at is identifying and qualifying if the customer is a good fit for you. Yeah, this is very tricky. First of all, finding a customer is hard, but now I'm saying that you have to choose which customers to work with. Unfortunately, I've had so many bad experiences where the clients were impatient, did not have their priorities set, were always late on payments, so had to part ways with them. And that is the part of the journey. You cannot serve everyone and you cannot make everyone happy. But on the other hand, when you get customers who are opposite of what I just described, then hold on to them and do everything in your power to serve them at the best of your abilities. The second last lesson is that you should keep your reputation above everything else and even profits. When I was young, one of my uncles advised me that Talha, work for reputation and not for money, because when you work for reputation, everything else falls into the place. I did not focus on that initially, but now with time, I understand that reputation is the name of the game. Because once you have a reputation in the market, you'll attract all the opportunities. I also have made blunders in the past, but we learn from it and move on. There have been instances that even after delivering the work as we were told to do, we had to do a 100% refund only because the client was not satisfied with it. I even had to offer free work to the client that was way outside of the scope. But even then, the clients were ungrateful, and unfortunately, that is how the world works. So all you have to do is focus on developing a reputation in any situation where it is difficult to make a decision. Ask yourself, what will give me long-term serenity and what will help increase the reputation of my business? Even if that decision will incur you a loss in the short term, in the long run, it will be worth it. Last but not the least is when you start a business, know that you're playing a long-term game. There are two types of games, finite games and infinite games. Finite games are the games where there are non-set of players, rules, and there can only be one winner. However, there are some games where there is not that many set of rules, there are many players, and there is no clear winner or loser like politics, business, or life. In an infinite game, you have to keep playing the game as long as you can. If you want to start and scale a business, know that it will be a long-term game, which will take a long time to work. You'll face a lot of rejection, you will fail a lot, but as long as you keep playing the game, you will not lose. You only fail or lose when you stop playing the game. So to summarize, before you start, make sure you have a unique skill with which you can solve a problem. Know clearly why you are doing what you are doing. Focus only on revenue generating activities in the early days. Don't go in business with anyone if you don't plan to work with them for a long term. Set up systems and delegate if you want to scale. Hire like your life depends on it. Be obsessed with your customers. Keep your reputation above everything and play the infinite game. Obviously, these are not the only things that helped me scale my agency. There were a lot of other things that we did as well, but it was not possible to cover them in one single video. However, these were some of the most important lessons that I can share with you now. I'll be sharing more of these lessons in my coming videos. I hope these insights and lessons prove to be helpful for you. As you can see, this is obviously the first video on this channel. In my coming videos, I'll be sharing more about how we do our sales, lead generation, hiring, project delivery, and sharing tons of valuable information for free, with the sole purpose of helping you apply these lessons in your business so you can achieve the same results. If you have any questions, please drop them down in the comment section below, which I'll be more than happy to answer and create a video on. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.